Welcome to another episode of Staying Uncomfortable, and to our new listeners, welcome to the show. This is where growth happens, this is where adventures begins, and this is where dreams become reality. Over the last few days, I've been really pondering about this question that I highly would like everybody to kind of really think through this, and it's a very, very deep question, which is, what are you going to do with the time you have left here?
Yeah, and today we're basically going to be talking about leaving a legacy.
Yeah.
Right? And what that really means is it selfish for you to want to leave something behind? Or is it something that you're not even aware of that you are selflessly leaving behind?
Yeah, because it's a very deep question, and the reason why I want to bring awareness and kind of have everybody think about this is that, right, we go into our life on a daily basis and continue to do this, right? So really think about where you are today. Are you happy with where you are? Are you continuously arguing with your family members and your spouses? Are you continuously miserable at your job? Doesn't matter where you are in your life. Like, think about, like, the time is not guaranteed, but what are you going to do with the time that you have left?
Yeah, and the best way to figure that out is reverse engineer it, right?
Yeah.
When there's no longer time remaining, so it's your funeral day.
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to show up to your funeral? And what the hell are they going to say about you?
Yeah, I mean, and these are the things that we don't think about, right? Because we never want to think about that spectrum of our life, funeral and like shit happening, bad things, right? But it's very important for all of us to take some time and really say, okay, like, hey, what can I do better? And how can I become more happy?
Yeah, because, I mean, it is going to take you to be happy before you can, they say, pour your cup before you pour the others.
Yeah.
But in that moment, are you now constantly just pouring your own cup and thinking about just me, and how am I going to live? How am I going to be happy? What am I going to do with the rest of my life? And then completely ignore everyone around you?
Mm-hmm.
Or do you then become sort of a servant to others and lift them up? And that's the way you can leave your legacy, which is, it's what you put in them, right?
Yeah.
What values do they take away from you? How did they feel when you were around?
Yeah. And I mean, if we take a step back here and if we think about some of the people that have like really left a big legacy, right? And we're not talking about us leaving a legacy like Steve Jobs or the Beatles or any of those, right? Again, I don't think they set out to be like, hey, we're going to build a legacy. They set out to build something which was going to help people or help the communities become better at what we want to do. So Steve Jobs created Apple because he goes, I want to build something which is going to help people make beautiful things. And that's what Apple is known for.
Exactly. And then some of the other big ones, right? Like Beatles, they just wanted to create music. Nelson Mandela, he just wanted to make sure that there's no racism and the country is not divided.
Yeah.
Mahatma Gandhi wanted peace for India.
Yeah.
Right? So all these people have gone ahead and not done it because, hey, I want my name plastered in history books. It's like, I believe in something and I really want it to change.
And that is where the mission comes into play, right? So this question goes back, and if you really think about it, it's like, what is your mission in life? What is your purpose in life, right? And it's okay for a lot of people not to have a mission and purpose. It's completely fine. But as long as you're happy, that's all that matters. Like, so I was out to dinner with a friend on Friday night, AJ. Dude, fucking happiest guy. Happy with everything that he has. And I asked him, I was like, so what do you want out of life? He goes, dude, I'm happy. And there's nothing wrong with that. He's got a beautiful wife, beautiful kid, beautiful family, beautiful house. He's happy.
Yeah, and that's something that we don't take the time to realize is, what can we be content with? What does happiness look like for us? And we talk about this in one of the episodes, right? Is happiness success or is success happiness? And what does that even mean to you?
Mm-hmm.
So ultimately what we're trying to get at is, what do you do now with the time you do have remaining? Do you have some sort of purpose? Do you have some sort of mission? Are you just kind of paying your bills and surviving instead of actually thriving and doing what you really want to do? And that in itself can be a luxury, right? Because we're so caught up in all the bills we have to pay, all the shiny objects that we're buying that we then need to pay for, that we're in this continuous loop of just being at the job that we hate so we can pay for the things that we want.
Yep.
And thinking that those things will bring us happiness. When they don't, it needs to come internally. And that's why, even though these words are very frowned upon, I think, like, what legacy are you leaving behind? What's your life mission? What's your life purpose? You know, people look at you like you're wacky, but it doesn't have to be the pressure that you put on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You can do very tiny little things to move that forward, right? And I think one of the examples that AJ gave to you was that I'm just going to tell my daughter she can do whatever she wants. She doesn't need to be a lawyer, a doctor, an engineer, which are very Indian, cultural, things that we pass on to our children. It's like, you're not successful if you aren't these three things, and you're a failure otherwise.
Yeah, and she could be a painter, she could be a pianist, or
anything.
Anything.
Yeah. I mean, and hopefully, like, maybe she becomes this amazing musician that affects the lives of all people listening to her music.
Yeah.
But if not, at least now she has those values instilled in her that when it's time for her kids, or if she's a mentor to other people, she can make sure that she believes in them and shows them that they can be anything they want. And again, that's just being passed down. That knowledge is being passed down, and that in itself is legacy. So it doesn't need to be this pressure that you have on yourself. It's just what you leave behind in other people.
Yeah. And the other things, like, smallest thing could be part of legacy is like passing down your grandmother's ring.
Yeah, heirlooms, family traditions, jewelry, right? We talked about this, just passing that down. It's so beautiful, right? It's like, wow, this was my grandmother's, and I'm going to now pass this down to my kid, and then my kid will pass it down.
It's this simple thing, right? And you don't, as you said, like, you don't need to go to the extreme of like Mahatma Gandhi or MLK or, the Beatles, but just come and think about as you're going through your life, and as I said again, going through your life and emotions. Think about this question. It's like, what are you going to do with the time you have left here?
Yeah. Who are you impacting? Who are you influencing? What are your words saying about you? Because you're writing your legacy every single day that you're awake and you're interacting with people. Or even if you're not interacting with people, that in itself is a legacy. Like, no one's going to come to your funeral because they're like, we don't even know who he was. He just sat at home, watched TV. That's all I know about the guy.
And there are people like that, right? There are people like that who, unfortunately, never get out of that circle.
Yeah. So, I mean, some of the little things, like you said, pass down something, create something that you can pass down, create a video of yourself with a message that you can pass down.
Yeah. And I know these things are very small and very, like, goofy, I would say somewhat, but it will be passed down to the next generation that you have. And I think it's not even a generation, but I think it's something that you value and you represent could be taken upon, and someone can say, oh, that was my dad, or that was my mom, and that's what they did.
Yeah, and that's what they're known for. And you will be so surprised that, you say, a lot of people say, like, oh, I'm turning into my mom, I'm turning into my dad. You don't realize that what an impact your parents have had on you. The other thing is writing a letter, right? Like, one of my friends, actually, she's a scientist. And no one knows this about her. It's like 2 people, including me, lucky enough to know that she writes poetry. So she'll write poetry and she'll actually mail it to me. She'll handwrite it and she'll be like, look, this is my poetry, and I'll read it. I'll be like, oh, this is so beautiful. Why isn't this being published? She's like, I don't need that acknowledgement from the world.
Yeah.
This poetry is for me. And it's beautiful because, God forbid something happens to her, like, this poetry will live on. Like, these were her creative words.
Yeah. This is a beautiful topic to talk about, honestly. It's something that, like, I think everybody should take some time and really think about is, like, what are you leaving, like, what are you going to do with the time you have left here? And we don't know how much time any one of us have left here. So, highly suggest that you take some time and really, like, think about this.
Yeah, it will give your life meaning, and ultimately, it gives your life purpose. It's just to know the roadmap of what you're building and working towards, instead of a cyclical, terrible loop of just paying your bills and surviving.
Well, with that, we'll see you next week, same time, and with the same mission. Nothing is impossible. You can have anything you want in life. All it requires is for you to work hard, show up every single day, and be persistent and relentless about your dreams. With that, have a great Mother's Day.